meteorologists are at a loss to explain what is causing this weather and why it has taken them by surprise.
That sudden drop in temperature as half an hour ago, Mexican officials closed the border in the light of so many U.S. refugees.
Be prepared to go live to Los Angeles.
Are you getting this on camera? What you see is happening now.
Look over there behind me! That's a tornado! Yes, a twister!
This is just massive.
Overnight, Texas getting slammed again.
Tornado on the ground.
6 reported tornadoes touching down. This one caught on camera as it strikes a gas rig.
Oh no! And this chilling video as the Blanco River apparently surges into this home earlier this week.
Superheated gas and rock flowed down the side of Mount Shindaki and reached the ocean after the mountain's explosive eruption as residents were gathering to await evacuation.
Let's head over to Japan. The country says an 8.5 magnitude earthquake has hit off the western coast of Ogasawara Island, which is about 874 kilometers south of Tokyo in the Pacific Ocean. When a storm rolled through on Wednesday. Amazingly, the church wasn't too badly battered. Some shingles were knocked off, and there was some damage to the wiring.
Now to the relentless storms pummeling the South. Flash flood warnings in Texas right now, rivers still rising, and more tornadoes touching down overnight. ABC's Matt Gutman is in Houston with the latest. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Robin. Scenes like this playing out across Texas, and it's the very areas that have been tormented by rain and flooding over the past month that again today are going to get hammered.
Overnight, Texas getting slammed again.
Tornado on the ground.
6 reported tornadoes touching down. This one caught on camera as it strikes a gas rig. 3 workers sent to the hospital.
Oh no! And this chilling video as the Blanco River apparently surges into this home earlier this week. The moment the water burst through the glass door, chairs, luggage, toys, all swept up in the raging, rising waters.
Nearly 1,500 homes damaged there.
As the waters recede, they reveal the damage and the dead. The body of a young boy found overnight, the death toll climbing to at least 21 in Texas and Oklahoma.
The anguish etched on the faces of those left behind. 8 people still missing this morning. In Houston, officials say 4,000 homes destroyed there. Inside Jim Rath's house, the floodwater receded, but was hardly gone.
Well, that drawer's full of water.
Yeah, that's all full of water.
Scenes like this go on for block after block, and we tend to think, George, of flooding as being relatively harmless. This house just got a foot of it, but basically a lifetime's worth of possessions thrown out. Baby shoes, beds, couches, everything has to be destroyed in this water. And I want to take you back to that video of that flooding surging into that house from the Blanco River that we showed you earlier. You can hear the terror in that family's voice as that video plays. They're screaming out now. We don't exactly yet know what happened to that family, but we're going to follow up and we'll let you know what happened.
Okay, Matt, you
George.
see the power in that water as well. Thanks to Matt for that. And Ginger, it is just not over down.
Not over. The stubborn pattern sticks at least through the weekend and then becomes a little more scattered. But now we know officially the entire state of Texas has had its wettest month on record. Yes, it goes back 120 years, and now we know this, and the numbers are astounding. Look at just a couple of the cities. Austin, to date, for May, has had 536% of what they normally get, 451% in Wichita Falls. And it's raining there this morning. Again, the storms blowing through Oklahoma City, another one that's troubled. And you can see all of those flash flood watches from Kansas to the Mexican border. The flash flood warning still in place, and another 2 to 3 inches that are still possible in parts of the red there. That's going through the end of the week, start of the weekend. The severe threat, same region, anywhere from Nebraska, western Nebraska, down to the Mexican border. Also another one here, damage.
California's tourist mecca, Manhattan Beach, as it looks, in good times. But where in the world did this come from? Los Angeles County officials closed almost 7 miles of Manhattan and 2 other beaches to clean up mysterious globs of tar and oil of all sizes that have washed ashore. The Coast Guard says pollution investigators are working to pinpoint the source of the globs. Officials have not ruled out a possible connection to the recent massive oil spill off Santa Barbara County, 100 miles to the northeast, but at this point, said a Coast Guard officer, it could be anything. State authorities say that so far, the globs have had no impact on area wildlife. I'm Danielle Banks, the Weather Channel.
Water running into the building. I can just confirm that both 5th Street and 6th Street are closed in this area. I do have some engines. I've also just been assigned a water rescue at 801 West 5th Street on Louis. I don't believe I have anyone in the water. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Give us a damage estimate.
Incredible video from Maine. Watch what happened to this church in Grand Isle when a storm rolled through on Wednesday. Amazingly, the church wasn't too badly battered. Some shingles were knocked off and there was some damage to the wiring. And oddly, this isn't the first time the church was struck by lightning. Officials say it was also hit in 2007. But it's not necessarily a bad omen. The National Weather Service says about 200 churches across the country are struck by lightning each year. I'm Danielle Banks, the Weather Channel.
Well, a volcano on the remote southern Japanese island of Kunchinabujima erupted suddenly today, blasting plumes of black smoke high into the sky, prompting authorities to order the island's evacuation and forcing airlines to divert flights. Superheated gas and rock flowed down the side of Mount Shindaki and reached the ocean after the mountain's explosive eruption as residents were gathering to await evacuation. Japan's top government spokesman said that authorities were making the utmost efforts to gather information and secure the safety of the island's roughly 140 residents. So far, no injuries have been reported. The government is surveying the island by helicopter to assess the damage.
Island in southwestern Japan are spending a second day as evacuees. They fled a volcano that erupted with explosive force. Smoke is still billowing hundreds of meters into the air. Mount Shindake stands in the center of Kuchino-Erabu Island. Officials at the Japan Meteorological Agency say it erupted shortly before 10 a.m. on Friday. They say smoke rose more than 9,000 meters and spotted cinders scattered around the crater. A mixture of hot gas and rock flowed in all directions. Some reached the ocean. Meteorological officials issued an alert at the highest level on their scale. They're warning of more explosive eruptions.
Developing story out of Ledyard tonight. A whole lot of people wondering why hundreds of dead fish have been seen floating in the local river. It's all happening in the Thames River. News 8's Tina Littell spoke to residents to find out what exactly is going on.
Now that the tide is out, a lot of the dead fish have washed away, but there are still some left here on the shore, and it's like this all up and down the east side of the Thames River. Same side as the Harvard Boathouse, and members of that crew team saw the fish kill during their last practice.
They've never seen this before.
Bob Berry says he's seen this kind of fish kill before. It was about 30 years ago, and he says it was much worse.
Back in the early 80s, you could smell them up on Route 12, which is probably a quarter mile as a crow's flies from here.
still seeing these fish laid lifeless.
Blueback herring, menhaden, alewives, some people call them buckies.
Some still trying to hang on to life is disturbing to many who have come across the fish kills in several Connecticut rivers and the seagulls feasting on them.
There was a school that was at least a half a mile long by a quarter mile wide in the river, and you could just see the whole outline of it. That's how big these schools can actually be. So when there's that many, the ones in the middle they basically suffocate.
DEEP is investigating the cause, which may be that lack of oxygen or viral whirling disease, which in the late stages, fish are seen spinning or whirling at the surface like this. Each occur in large schools of fish, and Bob Berry says that shows these fish, which were once almost wiped out, are now thriving in the Thames.
Actually, it's a good sign if you really know what's going on.
Yeah. Again, we see another sad scene of fish here swimming in circles. And we are told that soon enough, it will be dead as well. In Gales Ferry, Tina Dittel, News 8.
How did dropping off children at schools suddenly escalate to this? Police body cam video captures the entire incident.
What's going on, ma'am?
The first contact the Barstow police officer has is with this blonde woman who says she called the police to the school.
She gets out of her car, comes over here, punches my window.
No damage to the woman's car. The Barstow police officer then clearly says this.
I don't see right now, I don't see a crime that has been committed. If there was damages, I would give you the opportunity to place her under citizen's arrest if you wanted to. I don't see any crime.
The officer walks over to the other woman, Michelle Cooks, who had just dropped off her second-grade daughter at school. She's upset after the confrontation with the other woman.
She was honking and honking, so I was like, roll my window and see what she wants. She was like, you cannot park right, you cannot drive right here. This is a one-lane thing.
The officer then asks for Cook's name.
Okay, what is your name, ma'am?
I'm not giving you my name.
Cooks gets on the phone to call her boyfriend.
Ma'am, I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
He gives her about 20 seconds.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Ma'am, please.
Do not touch me. Do not. I'm pregnant. Do not touch me.
Cooks is 8 months pregnant and never stops screaming.
What are you doing? Stop! Let my arm go!
She is arrested. In your opinion, how did the officers treat you?
Like an animal, like a monster.
This is Michelle Cooks today. Cooks says police charged her with resisting arrest, but a judge dismissed the charges. She gave birth to her daughter, Olive, 2 months after the arrest. She was healthy at birth. Her mother, though, remains traumatized.
You just looked at me and said, oh, she must be this way, and I'm not that way. You make me feel that I'm a way that I'm not. And I work so hard to provide for my family.
Flash flooding emergency is unfolding in Dallas this morning. Record-setting rain drenched the city overnight, forcing dozens of rescues.
One firefighter carried a young boy out of his apartment building. The water quickly got as high as people's necks. Dave Malkoff of the Weather Channel is out in the middle of all this flooding. Dave, good morning.
Good morning. This all happened as you were sleeping. Rain was falling overnight with massive thunderstorms and lightning throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. This is just one location where the Swiftwater Rescue Team for Dallas Fire were pulling people out of vehicles. They've been doing that all night. At last check, the one crew that I talked to were pulling 5 people out, and they were moving to their next one. Let me show you one vehicle. This is a gentleman whose name is Sam Ong. He was in his brand new BMW. It was swept away by the quick moving water. Now, luckily, he was able to get out of the vehicle and get to a nearby convenience store where we actually talked to him. Tell me minute by minute what happened.
So I was just driving
and then suddenly the car stopped, and then I tried to turn the car back on. They wouldn't turn on, and when I opened the door, all the water came in.
Scary moments for Sam Ong this morning. He's only one story of lots and lots of stories that are happening around this area. They're still waiting for the water to recede under this one bridge so they can bring tow trucks in and remove all those vehicles. Vanita?
Unbelievable images there, Dave. Thank you.
Chinese health authorities have confirmed a man from South Korea has tested positive for the deadly Middle East respiratory syndrome, better known as MERS, in South China's Guangdong province. China's National Health and Family Planning Commission says the 44-year-old man flew from South Korea to Hong Kong on Tuesday and entered the province at Shenzhen. The businessman's father was earlier diagnosed with the disease, and he himself had felt discomfort as early as the 21st of May. He is now reported to have a high temperature of nearly 40 degrees Celsius, and a chest X-ray has shown lesions on his lungs, indicating the presence of pneumonia. Local health authorities isolated and placed the man under observation Thursday morning and have also quarantined people who had close contact with him. So far, no other person has shown symptoms of the disease.
Top story this morning, the deadliest natural disaster in this country so far this year. President Obama has signed a disaster declaration for Texas. The flooding in Texas and Oklahoma is blamed for at least 28 deaths. At least 11 people are missing.
There is more rain coming today and tomorrow in Texas and Oklahoma. Forecasters expect rivers and lakes to keep rising around Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas. Let's get the latest now from Don Daler in Grand Prairie, Texas, just west of Dallas. Don, good morning.
Good morning. This mobile home park had 3 feet of water in it yesterday, and even though those waters have receded, the residents here are afraid that just the slightest bit more rain could bring that water rushing back in. The president's declaration would mean there are federal monies for the people who live here and other communities, other residents, other businesses in order to rebuild the damage that all that water did. But the forecasters say it's not over yet. The string of thunderstorms plaguing Texas and Oklahoma continues to be deadly. In Lubbock, Texas, a police officer was killed while directing traffic around flooded streets. With the discovery of 4 more bodies in Texas, that brings the number of deaths caused by the storms to at least 27, with many more people still missing. In Wharton, Texas, officials ordered residents of about 30 homes to evacuate out of fear of rising waters from the Colorado River. About 50 families have been ordered to leave their homes in Rosenberg, a town southeast of Houston. The Brazos River is the threat there. Dallas is bracing for yet more flooding over the weekend after being surprised by rapidly rising waters yesterday.
I thought it was like a major accident or something like that. And then once I got creeped up a little bit further, they said it's a freaking pool out here at 5 feet of water. So I was hysterical.
Commuters on this highway were trapped for 5 hours.
Guys in the southbound lane, they're really out of luck. That traffic is backed up for miles.
And hundreds of water rescues were conducted by first responders, including this rescue of a woman by firemen aboard a hovercraft, and an aerial rescue of a police officer whose SUV was overrun by floodwaters. At this apartment complex, firemen had to carry children to safety after the ground floors flooded. Lindy Marich woke at 2 a.m. to water pouring through her door.
And within an hour, it was at my waist. I got him and my 2 older sons out, and I helped my mom get out. And then I had to go in through the window to go start trying to get stuff, the car seat, everything that I left inside. It was horrible.
People around here are taking it a lot more seriously now, and the good news is with it being a Saturday, there will be far fewer people on the roads. But Anthony, we're seeing a lot of lightning on the horizon and hearing a lot of thunder.
Sounds like more to come. Don Daler in Grand Prairie, Texas. Thank you, Don.
Let's head over to Japan. The country says an 8.5 magnitude earthquake has hit off the western coast of Ogasawara Island, which is about 874 kilometers south of Tokyo in the Pacific Ocean. No tsunami warning has been issued. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center said the focus of the quake had a depth of 696 kilometers, just short of 700 kilometers. It happened about 8:30 p.m. local time, setting off car alarms and shaking buildings as far away as Tokyo. Now, there's been no immediate reports of injuries or damage.
An 8.5 magnitude earthquake has struck a chain of Japanese islands off Tokyo. The quake has struck at a depth of 590 kilometers. Press TV's Albert Siegel is in Tokyo to give us more details on this quake. Albert?
As you said, the earthquake was fairly deep at 590 kilometers. So by the time it was an 8.5, but by the time it hit land, it was more like a 5 or a 4, and especially in Tokyo, it felt more like a 4. I was out in a shop when the earthquake struck very suddenly, and it lasted long, about a minute. Everything was shaking very noticeably. It was definitely one of the strongest earthquakes we've had here in a while, but there were no reports of damage, and I could see no damage. The trains were stopped. I was near a train station, so the trains were stopped, and they were held up for about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm getting reports that some trains are just now starting, or some of the other major lines are now starting to get up and running. They're doing their typical safety check after any large earthquake. But the city is very well prepared. Japan itself, as a country, is very well prepared for these major earthquakes. So at the moment, there's really nothing to worry about. At least there are no reports of any major damage. But this is the third big earthquake in recent weeks. So activity seems to be picking up quite a bit.
So just to clarify, Albert, usually when earthquakes hit the coastline of Japan, it's followed by a tsunami alert. That's not the case in this incident, is it?
No, there's no tsunami warning at the moment, and typically for an earthquake of this size, it doesn't really trigger one. If it does, it's usually not a very severe tsunami, it's a very small one, so there's really nothing to be concerned at the moment. Well, it is a major earthquake, but at a depth so deep that it doesn't really translate to any major damage up on land. So for the moment, we are pretty safe.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to leave it there. That's our correspondent, Albert Siegel, joining us from the Japanese capital, Tokyo.
Scientists in the country have completed the construction of major parts for the first Chinese satellite set to detect dark matter. It is hoped the satellite will help find evidence to prove the existence of dark matter, which is still hypothetical and undetected, but could account for over a quarter of the universe's mass energy balance. A series of experiments and tests will follow before the satellite is launched by the end of the year. The key scientific instruments and equipment for the satellite weigh around 1.4 tons and have now been sent for assembly.